All right, hello everyone. I just finished another wonderful book. This one is titled Parenting Children of Trauma by Marcy, I believe how you say her last name, maybe Pusey, or Pusey, something of that nature. But overall, great book. I'm a huge fan. Just the amount of knowledge you need to be able to have before you go into parenting is a ton. If you've read one book, then read 10 books. And the amount of knowledge you need going into parenting foster kids is 10 times that. So if you read 10 books, read 100 books, really immerse yourself, volunteer, things of that nature. But this book tells you, or at least it shows it to me, the author came from a counselor background where she was actually in the field. So she knew what to expect. And she still had a very rough time at it to the point to where she started learning how to be able to deal with it, but she never fully gained, in my opinion, a 100% grounding on it, which overall the perspective is you can't change these kids from what I've seen so far. Now, I'll keep searching for someone who maybe found a method that, they have a process that works pretty smooth. But the main thing this author teaches and preaches, which I accept and that I use this in my parenting as well, is you can't change the kids. Is mainly you take care of yourself. You make sure that you're always good in every situation. You make sure you have your boundaries pretty high. That way, if the kids ever start getting weird, which, normal kids get weird who come from good backgrounds with good parents and they're raised in that same house their entire life. But kids that come from a foster family, that weirdness is times 10 because of the trauma that they've gone through. So overall, a couple notes that I wrote down from it. The loving role is associated with trauma from the previous loving figures, which is very tough because people who have said, I'm your mom, I love you, I care for you, those people are the ones that have hurt these kids the most. So as soon as you try to play that role and play that role to the max, many of these kids put up their boundaries and start, acting out because you're playing that role. So that's a hard situation for parents to understand. There's disassociation in conversations or in actions. Those that happen a ton, where kids do something bad, they'll say some bad things, they'll start flailing, and they won't remember it because those are blackout moments for the kids. So you can't even really teach on those issues. Time and separation. You need tons of time and separation from these kids. Once again, whatever is being taught for foster kids, it can be used for your kids you're parenting as well. It just is not as, you can get away with not being 100%. So time and separation from the kids definitely helps. Unfortunately, many parents who get into this, parents vent a lot about their kids, but if you're venting about Sally, who's your daughter, who's your 3-year-old daughter, and someone else has a kid who's around the same age and they have a similar background, the parental vents are going to be very close to the same. When you're dealing with foster kids, those foster kids are going to do some things that once you start venting about it, other parents in your sphere, even if they're the most well-meaning parents, they're not going to accept the vents because the vents are way outside of their actual norm, to where they can't sympathize with the vent. So a lot of times parents, you can have these great, amazing friends, and all of a sudden you get a foster kid and you're venting about the foster kid, and those same parents, start becoming more distant because of your vents, because of how the kids act in public, things of that nature. So it's an unfortunate situation. You can't control how fast the foster kid develops. If the goal becomes to grow yourself in the process, rather than to change the kid, then you can find peace, which makes it easier for the kid to find peace. And once again, the author did not master the game, even though she was, a slightly part of the game in the counseling perspective. She learned a lot of techniques. She did not master the techniques, but unfortunately, I heard that it seemed as if she started learning these techniques later on after the kids had already started learning how to manipulate them. I'll keep doing my research. I'll keep on studying. Overall, great book. I recommend it for anyone who has to deal with any foster kids, wants to potentially foster, etc. Thanks.